Now watch this drive.
Welcome back to the Highly Original Podcast. I'm Joe Martino,
And I'm Parker Danks.
and we are back with a new installment. This time it is on I don't even know how to say it, I guess one of the great sitcoms of all time, The Office. And yeah, so that's our topic for you guys today. I mean, it's a iconic series. But before that, Parker, I feel like you've had a pretty eventful week. Where
Yeah, man.
I feel like I didn't, but I saw you went to a music festival.
Yeah, man. I went to the festival. It was called Ecstatic Forest Festival, where they, practice ecstatic dance, which is just going to the rhythm of the music. It's a very spiritual dance. And I was volunteering, and it was a really good time. It did rain on us, though, so we
Uh,
dealt with a lot of mud, and that was
was it in
fun.
Texas?
Yeah, it was in Texas. It was in Elgin, Texas, which is outside of Austin.
Okay.
So yeah, man, did that, and it was a really good time. Um, and then my birthday was yesterday, so I turned 31, and I could definitely feel it too. And did some music recording. Yeah, it's been an eventful week, but it's been a long week. So yeah, man.
Nice. Yeah, no, I mean, I really had a pretty quiet week myself. So, our topic today, as I said in the beginning, is The Office. So, for those of you who have lived under a rock for the past like 20 years, The Office is a mockumentary sitcom that follows the daily lives of an office in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and it is a paper company, and it just follows this ensemble cast through their lives, and it ran from 2005 to 2013. It's actually based off a British series by the same name that Ricky Gervais starred and helped create. Uh, that did not last as long, but that's kind of like British television. They don't usually run as long, but so kind of go over the cast, which it was an ensemble. You had Steve Carell, Rainn Wilson, John Krasinski, Jenna Fisher, and BJ Novak, and Ed Helms as like some of the big names, and Mindy Kaling too. But I mean, it really was an ensemble cast, and I really do feel like this was like the first mockumentary show that really like became popular, and I think we really saw its influence over the next few years with like shows like Modern Family, Parks and Rec, and I'm sure others too. I mean, there's one right now, Abbott Elementary, which actually takes place in Philly, is also a mockumentary style, and I think is all influenced by The Office, where you have characters and it's filmed as if someone's just standing there, and they'll look into the camera, or they'll have the sort of confession booth interviews on the side about what's going on in the plot. So yeah, I really think this was a groundbreaking show. And I don't know if I mentioned it takes place in Scranton, Pennsylvania, which is about 2 hours from me. And I had watched it a little bit while it was on the air, but the first time I watched it like all the way through all the episodes was when I was going to college up in Wilkes-Barre, which is like 40 minutes from Scranton. It's like the Twin Cities of the coal country. So just a little factoid there. But yeah, Parker, I mean, before we like dive into like our favorite characters, all our standard stuff, um, do you remember this show like being a big deal? Did you follow it while it was going?
I followed it pretty well. I remember I started watching it when I was in high school. Uh,
Okay.
my brother got me into it, and a few friends of mine. And at first, I didn't get it. Like the first season, I was trying to get the rhythm of the mockumentary style because, like you said, it paved the way for
Yeah.
shows like Parks and Rec and Modern Family. It was a different style of show that revolutionized television, and it's also one of the best TV shows of all time. I mean, if you go to any Hinge account when you're trying to like online date, all these descriptions will be like, I like to eat Cheetos while watching The Office, The Office, The Office, The Office.
Yeah.
Everyone loves it. So I've only met a few people that don't like it. So I remember when I started watching it, I think the first iconic thing was the theme song. I think everyone in my high school was trying to learn to play the theme
The
on
piano riff.
piano. And anytime it came on, everybody would get super pumped. And I also think, it did major things for Steve Carell's
Oh,
career.
yeah.
Because before that, he did Bruce Almighty, and he did a few projects, and he did, I'm pretty sure he did 40-Year-Old Virgin a year before The Office came out. So,
It
like,
was about
he was,
like it was
he
kind
was
of all the
getting
same time. Yeah.
he was getting there, but Michael Scott, like, I'll never forget watching him on The Office and going, "Oh, that's the guy from Bruce Almighty. That's the guy from 40-Year-Old Virgin," and he's a completely different
Yeah.
character. And so to see him as this like annoyance of a boss that would only be in your nightmares, which I actually would be entertained if he was my boss, but I just think it was just so groundbreaking, and every character in the show has made me laugh. It's not
Yeah.
like, yeah, I mean, there's a few characters where I'm like, but I think just everyone has a crucial role in this show. So yeah,
It's
watched it all the
very,
way.
very much ensemble
Hmm.
based show. I mean, you do have the stars, but as you're saying, like every character has attention paid to them at somewhere in the series. And kind of
Absolutely.
with that, like while we're on like the characters, we could segue right into uh like who would you say is your favorite main character?
It's cliche. I don't know if you want to call this a gimmick. Michael Scott. Michael
Okay.
Scott all the way, because he is almost like
And Michael Scott was he's the manager
he is the,
of
yeah,
the
for people who
branch.
aren't going to watch the show, he is the
Yeah.
manager of the show. He's almost like an annoyance
Well,
boss. Think of like the worst boss you could think of, who will like discriminate against you in a joking manner. He's always
like
very joking and playful, but like he's very cringy, and that's what makes the
he's
show.
very like politically incorrect,
Yes,
but
that's the word to
also
use.
like not necessarily on purpose. Like he doesn't get that he's inappropriate all the time.
Yeah, he doesn't get it. He's just kind of in his own Michael Scott world,
Yeah,
and
that's a good way to put it.
um, so I always liked him. And so the reason when you asked me earlier if you've kind of watched throughout the whole thing, I would watch pieces of The Office after he left, but once Michael Scott left the show, I was done. I was super upset because I was like, dude, that's my guy. Like, I'm one of those people who gets really stubborn about my characters because I'm like, if he's not there, I'm not watching the show. So, like, I haven't really finished it, to be honest, because
Okay. Yeah.
I've watched it all till Michael Scott leaves.
I mean, me personally, I really believe the golden age of that show was season 1 through 3.
Yes.
Like
Great.
because I think honestly, I mean, not to be like I do love the show. There are seasons afterwards that do make me laugh. Um, and I agree. Once Michael went away, it kind of came a little bit hard. Like I mean, I'm an advocate of short series. I think that 3 seasons is a good amount for a series because that's when you can really
I
tell the
agree.
story well and you're not just starting to make things up. But I really think also in those first 3 seasons, the stuff that happens, I feel like could happen. After season 3, I feel like the plot lines become a little bit more cartoonish and like that couldn't happen. Like that's not real. Like whereas
Well,
like the first 3 seasons, like this could actually happen in a documentary. That's
yeah.
why, you know what I
Well,
mean?
following what you said, there's like a pattern to a lot of shows with the first three seasons. If you think about a lot
Yo,
of
same.
shows, people
Yeah,
go, "Oh, the first three seasons," and the reason why is because those first three seasons they are proving themselves. Because after that third season, they start making bank.
okay.
There's a term in the acting industry where you have pilot season, right? And you get a pilot, and
Yeah.
it's a big deal, and you want the show to have its first season. Once you get past that third season, you've kind of made it. So what I'm thinking is, does the money get to people a little bit? Do they just treat it as a job at that point? Like,
I
so that
always thought it was more of like they had the story written out and they get to the point where they didn't have it written in their head anymore, and now they're just adding stuff.
yeah, you're
That's
right.
what I
They
always
had all
thought.
the
But
best material.
you might be onto something too there because I didn't know
Yeah.
that. So I've always thought it's just like, okay, how do we continue the
Yeah,
story?
I mean they're still doing well the first two seasons, but it's once it really gets picked up and people are watching and merch is sold and they just keep working and they sign on to that fourth season. Man, they're just doing so well. But to continue on to our conversation, who is your favorite character in The Office? Your main character in The
My
Office?
favorite main character. I mean, if I can't pick Michael Scott, which I don't even know if I would, and this is a hard question. Even though I wrote these questions, I still am like
It is hard. It's a great show.
like it is such an ensemble cast. I'm gonna maybe go with Dwight, who is a salesman and also the assistant to the regional manager, which
Yes,
he believes makes him second in command. And it's like kind of he kind of is, but like basically the thing about Dwight is Dwight has a very like authoritarian personality. He's very bizarre too. He's like this Pennsylvania Dutch. Like some of his family is like hinted at being like Amish or Amish like. And he comes from like this farm and he's just like a super nerd and he's very like sure of his skills, including in like karate and all these weird random things. And I think Rainn Wilson, the actor who played him, did such a great job capturing like him, because like
he
there are a
really
lot of
did.
scenes with like Dwight, he'll like say something like that's so weird and dorky, and he'll just like look into the camera like with this like face that he's trying to intimidate like the audience. He's like, you know, like I just and he's just so like bizarre.
He
Like,
is. He's
you
so
remember the one where
bizarre.
he's like, I think, yeah, and he's like in the early seasons, he's like a volunteer sheriff's deputy, and he's like trying to like, I forget this, like I might be confusing two episodes, but he's trying to find out like there was like a marijuana joint found on the property, and he's trying to figure out whose it is, and it's such not a big deal, but it's so important to him that he like finds out and like basically he wants to like arrest one of his coworkers. Like that's like his dream scenario here. And I forget it might be a different one where he's like describing his perfect crime. Do you remember that? And it's like he steals the chandelier from Tiffany's and like falls in love with like the heiress and then like leaves her, ships the chandelier. Like it's like this whole international like movie plot. And then they're like he's just but he's saying it with such sincerity and he's like, this is the perfect crime. Like, I don't know. I just he was always like a favorite of me, a favorite of mine. Um, but yeah, I mean Parker. So again, since this is like an ensemble based series, who would you say is your favorite like supporting character?
Man, it's so hard. But if
Mine is definitely gonna surprise you.
oh, I really hope it's not one. I do have one beef with one character, but I think
Okay.
he's necessary. But I think I got to go with Kevin.
Okay.
Kevin is so funny. He's also my dad's favorite character, and we've just kind of bonded over the
Yeah,
Kevin line.
yeah.
And he
And
just he's
one
just
of
the
the
funniest thing. Like in the Christmas episode,
he's
he
one
was
of the
like,
accountants. Uh,
yeah, he's
but
one
at the
of the
same
like
time, it's like he shouldn't be an accountant because he's not
he's not very
very
bright.
intelligent.
Yeah, he's not very bright. You could tell he just got the job somehow. And he's always. I'm a huge fan, whether it's Parks and Recreation, Modern Family, The Office, of the guys who just sell those one lines. I think of that way with Donna in Parks and Rec. She sells those one liners. I like those characters, and Kevin is that. He has the best one liners. Like when he's being interviewed at the Christmas party, he's like, well, I was invited to Angela's Christmas party, but then Pam seems better. But then Angela has brownies. Angela, brownies. Angela. And it just is so funny.
No,
Uh,
yeah, no, dude, like, and like his delivery of these lines too, because as you were just doing, he's like very slow and serious about like these mundane things. Just like Angela has like you were doing the voice a lot better than I don't think I
brownies.
yeah,
Yeah,
like
he does that thing with his face. He's such a talented actor, and he's a good drummer. That's a little
yeah,
bit of trivia.
he's a drummer in
Yeah,
the
he's a
show
drummer.
too. He played
Um,
what he's in a cover band that only does Police, like the band The
yeah,
Police
the
or
police.
something. That's all they play.
Who's your
And he's
favorite
also a
character?
gambler. Remember that? He's like a real
Yeah, dude, I
he,
forgot.
he like won a poker tournament and like they had the casino night where they're doing a fundraiser and like he's got like a pinky ring on. He's like
Yeah,
he's like he's
he
like
has a
got a
little bit of
special
mystery to him too.
yeah. No, yeah.
I was gonna ask, who's your supporting character? Now I'm intrigued.
All right. I guarantee you're not gonna know. It's David Wallace, the CFO from corporate that's in like only a handful of episodes.
Is that the guy who's played by Andy Buckley? Is that
Um, well, actually, I'm not. I don't. I don't know. Andy Buckley.
um I think that's the guy. Yeah, dude, that's Andy Buckley. Dude,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I shook hands with him one time. I've met
Oh,
that guy.
really?
Yeah. Yeah, I worked on a TV show with him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Which
he's a cool
one?
guy. It was called The Lying Game, and he was on that. And he came up to me and he just said, "I'm Andy Buckley," and I was like, "You're from The Office." So yeah.
Did you have like a speaking role in that show?
No, I was just like a valet driver. So like I was just in the background. I think I said like, "You got it" or something. I don't think I had any speaking points.
Bro,
So
you have like all these hidden things that I like didn't know about you, like in acting. Like,
yeah, I mean, yeah, it was a long time ago. So
yeah, but still, I mean, like, I don't know. That's kind of interesting. You worked with Andy Buckley on
and
some show.
he's got huge hands too. Like so, you
Yeah,
got a really good handshake. So
but I should get into the character and why I
yeah,
like it.
yes, yes.
So David Wallace is introduced, I think, in like season two, and
Hmm.
he's the CFO, the chief financial officer for Dunder Mifflin, the paper company, and he's at the Manhattan corporate office, and he's he's pretty much just a straight man. He gets a few funny lines, but most of the time his role is the straight man in the room to react to the comic. And I just love his relationship with Michael because he's just like he likes Michael, but he's also irritated by Michael. And I just like how serious and realistic he is in this world of like all these crazy characters. And I don't know, I just like how he's just trying to like be a CFO while
And
like
he has to deal with Michael Scott, and
yeah,
he's
while
you
like
can tell his by his face, he's just constantly annoyed by him, and
and like bewildered and just like he doesn't get too involved because he's just like kind of what like what's going on. I don't know. I've always liked David Wallace. I don't know. Yeah,
yeah, same, no, same. And and it's played by an actor who's a very nice guy too.
who
Like
you
he's a very
a
talented
former
actor.
coworker of yours apparently.
Well, I guess former
Oh.
coworker, yeah.
Um, so what would you say is your favorite episode? And I mean, I know that's another hard one.
That
Like,
is
there's
really
so
hard.
many
But
iconic
I'm
episodes.
gonna mention like the theme. I just love all the Christmas episodes. I think they had two
Okay.
of them, and where like there was one scene where they did a gift exchange. I think it was a white elephant,
Yeah,
and they had like a $10-15 limit, and Michael got someone an iPad or
yeah.
iPod,
Yeah, the
and then he
iPod.
got a mitten from Phyllis, and he was just like, "Hey, this is how much you love me." Is a mitten, and you're like, "You are such a mean guy."
But
Like,
like he also buy it specifically so Ryan the temp would get it. And Ryan is like this temporary worker who is like kind of fresh out of college and Michael has like a obsession with that sometimes borderlines on like romantic, but like not really like he's like just obsessed with Ryan and he's always trying to
yeah.
be cool in Ryan's eyes.
Yeah, do you remember when he brings him in the first episode and he's just like, "Hey, we're gonna pull this prank on Pam." He's just like, "Pam, we gotta let you
Then
go,"
he
and
like
she
he
starts
just like
crying,
fires.
and he's just like, "Yeah, you're fired. I'm just playing," and then you just see Ryan just go.
He's just like, what is this? But yeah, like
But yeah, and along with that scene, but like I mentioned, Kevin talking about the brownies, like the and
and then there's one
uh
of my favorite moments, Michael Scott moments in a Christmas episode It's like the one where like Phyllis gets to be Santa and he's like so bitter about it that he then dresses up like Jesus, but like he's Michael Scott, so he doesn't really even know anything about Jesus. And he's in a white beard and he's like, do you know who I am? And they're like, who? And he's like, I'll give you a hint. I have the power of flight and I can heal leopards. And then like when Toby comes in, the HR who Michael hates because Toby's always, you know, like stopping Michael because Michael is like the worst HR like case ever. And Toby's like, you cannot do like he's just exasperated. Like he's not even trying to talk sense. He's like, you cannot dress up like a religious figure in the office. And like, and Michael looks at him, he goes, ah, yes, my enemy, the Antichrist. And he touches his head and he makes like a sizzle. He's like,
Dude,
it's
I love that relationship between Michael and Toby. They kind of hate each other. It's so funny.
no, yeah, like, and I was just thinking, like yeah, it's just
I also like Ryan and Kelly's, who was played by Mindy Kaling, who's
Mindy
another like
Kaling.
office employee.
Yeah,
And during the Christmas episode, they're doing karaoke, and she's singing the song "We belong to the light, we belong to the thunder,
yeah,
we
we belong,
belong
Ryan.
together, Ryan." And like, even though it was just one word that she added, like, and then Ryan's face, it was just comedic gold. It was
Oh
so
yeah,
funny.
they
But
had they had a great arc. I
just
mean,
to move along a little bit, let's get on to your episode, like your favorite episode.
so my favorite episode is definitely the episode where Michael outs Oscar
Oscar,
as
oh man,
gay.
yeah, dude,
I
that
think,
was so cringy.
dude, and that's why I think I love it so much because it is the peak of Michael Scott being ignorantly inappropriate. Like he's not even trying to bully Oscar. He literally thinks that he's like doing good. So basically, Oscar is one of the accountants, and he is a at the beginning of the series, he's a closeted gay man, and eventually, I forget exactly the details. Michael finds out. I know Michael like calls him a pretty like bad slur, and then when Oscar reports it, Toby tells Michael that like you offended Oscar because he's gay, and then Michael immediately basically tells the whole office, and then like it's an HR nightmare. And
It is.
I think it's one of my favorite lines is like Jan, who is the boss in the beginning, like the corporate boss. She comes down to Scranton. She's like yelling at Michael, like you cannot like how do you think that was okay? Like this is so bad. Like why would you do this? And in Michael trying to defend himself, he's like, I am so like an ally. He's like, I watch the L word. I watch Queer as and then like Jan is just like, that's not what it's called. And I just love that like I love that like whole line. Like that's like one of my favorite scenes. And then of course, for those of you who've seen the episode, it ends with Michael having a meeting in front of everybody, and he has Oscar come up and proclaims that he accepts him, and then to prove it, he kisses Oscar on the mouth,
Gosh.
which then results in Oscar being able to like take a paid sabbatical for like half a year or something. And actually, a little factoid for you, Parker. That scene was improv. Like Steve Carell was only supposed to like hug him or something, and Steve Carell like improv like the kiss,
Yes.
and like the actor Oscar Nunez who plays Oscar, like you're kind of seeing him like improv along, but he was also not expecting that, so that's why he's kind of like frozen as Michael like kisses him, and he's just like, oh. And I just think that's like one of the best episodes because it just I think it captures The Office in a nutshell.
I think so too. I think that that is one of the episodes that stands out to a lot of people too.
Yeah, I mean,
It's where
definitely.
Michael just goes above and beyond in the worst way possible as the worst boss. I
And
mean,
in no way is he like trying to be hateful either. That's like the thing.
yeah,
He's literally thinks like, oh, this will fix it.
this is the right way. I'm a great leader. I'm
Because
gonna help Oscar with his coming out adventure and ruin not
he
ruin
also
anything,
loves
but
he loves being the center of attention, Michael. So he always like will create these scenarios where he's like, proclaiming things. Like later he tells the whole office that this one coworker, or not the whole office, but he tells the guy that he's being cheated on by another person in the office. Like he like announces personal matters to people, and it's just yeah, I just thought it was a brilliant scene.
yeah. And wasn't that the same episode where he offends Mindy Kaling's character Kelly, where he goes up to her and he's just like, "Hey, we're gonna do like switch scenarios." Is that the same episode where
No,
he
that's
the
that's a
Cookie King?
season one where they have a diversity like
That's what it is.
trainer
I get
come
those
in,
mixed up.
and
Mm-hmm.
then when the diversity trainer doesn't let Michael be the star of the show, Michael has his own diversity day where he makes everybody like tape different like minority groups and like ethnic groups to their heads, and then they have to go around and guess what each other's like ethnic group is, and then Kelly comes in and Kelly doesn't have one. And Kelly, for those who have never seen the show, Kelly is an Indian American, and he just starts saying like he starts doing an accent essentially, and then she slaps him across the face. That's another iconic moment in the show.
Yeah.
And I think Michael is wearing a sticker. His sticker says Martin Luther King.
Oh
that's
my.
his. That's who he picks to be like, because he needs to be the star of the show, and he needs everybody to like think he's like, oh, you're so smart, you're so like, you know, like great, and yeah, it's just a great show. So one of the things I wanted to kind of, I mean, we you and I both kind of went into it in the beginning was like the cultural impact of the show. Um, I personally think this was one of like the last, well, maybe not, well, kind of one of the last great like sitcoms in like the classical sense. Like, because I feel like now things are more like dramatic and cinematic, and like comedy dramas are now like what is like the mainstream, whereas this was more of just like pure comedy with some drama in it. But I do think it kind of like was like a big moment, and I do think it is like it changed a lot, but it was also like the end of its like an era. I don't know. You know what I'm saying or no?
No, I absolutely get what you're saying because when The Office came out, it was like 2005, but I think it really started to grow like around 2007, where
Okay.
people were really catching on to it. And I think, like you said, it started a lot of other shows. And so not only did it start a lot of mockumentary style television shows, but it also, I think, could have been, a result to other reality TV shows. I think people became obsessed with the idea of more interviews with
Yeah.
characters, whether it was reality TV or like a written sitcom. So I think it kind of, like I said earlier, I think it revolutionized the way we see comedy on TV now. Because if you look
Yeah.
at shows before The Office, they were significantly much different. And
I'm,
people kind of associate those shows with like the early 2000s. And like you said, it was a British show. And we're also known for taking the British version of shows and like turning it into the American version. They kind of did it with the show Shameless as well. Shameless was originally a British show that we took and had, got William H. Macy involved. And so, yeah, I think it was kind of, a different change of pace with the show,
yeah. I
you
mean,
know?
I guess what I'm trying to say more is like it was one of the last big network TV shows, because now I feel like we're in the age of streaming where not everybody is watching the same thing, but I feel like this is one of those last shows where everybody was watching it more. I don't know, you know.
No, yeah, because everyone was tuning in on television to watch it on
Yeah,
cable
yeah.
or and I think that maybe went on a little bit, but once we got to like what was it, 2010 and 11, streaming really started to blow up.
I mean,
So
I feel like
was
streaming
earlier.
was a little later that it
I remember
really
I
became.
remember getting Netflix like streaming I think it was 2010 or 2011.
Yeah,
So like but that's when it just started and I think Netflix was the only one doing it. So
yeah,
yeah, and which I have a completely cool idea that has to do with streaming, but that can be on a different discussion.
yeah. No, yeah. I mean, be careful because if it's like a good idea, you don't necessarily want to
Yeah, expose it
broadcast
to the
it
world.
publicly. But I guess, yeah, I don't know. I guess that maybe that's what I'm trying to say with it. Another thing I wanted to get your opinion on. This is something that I'm like I always think is really interesting. The one that it had a resurgence in the 2010s after it was off the air through streaming. It became like I think the number one show on Netflix until it was taken off.
Yeah.
And it was reached by like a younger generation, like Gen Z, that didn't grow up with it as much necessarily. Um, and you know, I watched it in its entirety, like in the 2010s on streaming, sir, on Netflix. But something that has been said, even by Steve Carell himself, is that he doesn't believe the show could be made today because we live in a much more I don't know how you want to say sensitive time or
Yes.
people the cancel culture. I mean, you know, everybody knows me. I'm pretty against cancel culture, you know, maybe with the exception of extreme cases, you know, like
Yeah, because it kind of limits what we can do with the First Amendment on
yeah,
television and through music. And I mean, don't be saying things that are hateful, but I think we have been
like
getting to a point where people are a little too sensitive
but the
because
thing
if you
is
look at
like
the first few seasons
yeah,
of what Michael did, you're like, yeah, he's right. Steve Carell's right. He cannot do that today.
but like the thing is like
Um,
I think people confuse hatefulness and comedy like you know, I have actually met someone who does believe like that The Office is a sexist, racist, homophobic show. And like it just features a character, Michael Scott, who may exhibit those attitudes, but it was funny because he was ignorant and
yes.
we weren't laughing at the people who were on the receiving end of his you know his stupidity. We like it was the situation. It was how is this guy so tone deaf? And I think like people now kind of mix like the depiction of something with the show is endorsing that. Like I don't think anybody watched the episode where Michael outed Oscar and was like, "I'm gonna go like do that." Like that, you know,
Yeah.
we were just shown that that was a bad thing. Like,
Well, I also think that in ways, in a comical way, that The Office is educational as well because in the work
yeah,
area, in offices, sexual harassment is addressed. People who are gay or lesbian in the work field, that's addressed too. Like, and now, and HR is usually all over those cases. What else? Discrimination. These things are like always a are discussed in HR. And
yeah,
so when Michael's doing is like, and the show's doing, it's just an example of how people have like really like screwed things up at a job by like being discriminate, being sexually harassing somebody. And Michael has like red flagged all of those
yeah.
topics. And it
But
just
it's
shows, hey,
not
like,
like
even though this is like a little extreme and it's a
yeah.
show, these things have happened in the workplace.
And
So
the show is by no means saying be like Michael.
no, it's
And
saying
like
like this
that's
guy is a
yeah.
goofball.
Yeah, like that's like I don't know. So yeah, I mean, but I do know like people, yeah, like even jokes where the humor is being critical of bad behavior, people don't even want to see that. Like they said, no, that's like yeah. Yeah, like I remember like I did talk to someone and they were like saying that no, it's a bad show because it encourages all these things. And I was like, no, it doesn't. It discourages them. But yeah, it's we're definitely in a
Well, it's kind of ironic because we still have music and TV shows today that are still offensive in certain categories.
yeah, yeah.
They may be more a little bit more PC, but they could offend other people in different ways. Like,
But at the same time, like maybe this show could still be made, but it wouldn't be as universally popular. Maybe it could be on a streaming service as like a niche show, you know? But maybe a network wouldn't air it. You know what I mean? But I still feel like it probably could still be made. It just would be more alternative than mainstream, perhaps.
I agree.
Yeah. But yeah, man, I mean, definitely the show is like one of my favorites, and I do think
It's a great masterpiece,
it
man.
changed comedy. I think it changed like sitcoms, but that kind of can segue into our next topic, which has to do with comedy, and that's inside jokes. And this is kind of like a weird topic, man, but I did want to talk to you about this because I've thought about this before, and also there's an inside joke between you and I that I want to have accessible to the public. So that's a little bit why this topic's being brought up, and you know exactly what that is.
Yep.
But before we do that, I just want to say like, Park, do you ever have like inside jokes with like friends that you had as a child, and maybe you drifted apart, maybe you had a bad falling out with them, or whatever the case may be, but you don't see those people for whatever reason anymore, but you had this inside joke, and you'll think of that inside joke, and you'll laugh, but you can't share it with anyone because no one will get it.
Yep, all the time. I've had so many inside jokes with several friends, and sometimes I'll just laugh to myself, and people are like,
Yeah,
"What are you laughing at?" And I'm like, "Just you won't
and,
get it.
and
You won't
like at the end of the Joker, Joaquin Phoenix, you wouldn't get it.
get it."
But
Um, but
Parker's holding the cigarette, you wouldn't get it.
yes, man, it happens all. I'm a huge fan of inside jokes because it's also a bonding thing. It's your thing. It's like it's your circle, and
Yeah,
there's something very intimate about inside jokes. You know, they kind of make your friendship grow. I think
yeah,
it's
no, for
great. You
sure.
know,
I mean, the one that kind of was like the originator of my idea to like talk about this was one between you and me that actually came about while we were in New York
yeah,
in December. And you are from the South or whatever Texas is, um, and I'm from the Northeast. So there's some like regional differences. Like there are things that you have that I don't have, and vice versa. So one of these things um, was the bodega. And for our audience that's not from the Northeast, a bodega is a kind of urban store. It's like a convenience store, like not really a convenience store. It's got like light groceries, like basically like 7-Eleven type food, but it's not a gas station. And they also have a grill usually where you can get breakfast sandwiches or lunch. And they're called bodegas because they were originally, the businesses originated, I think, in the Hispanic community. Hispanic business owners opened up because it's a Spanish word. But now they're widespread, and anybody can own a bodega. But I remember I was saying to Parker as we were there, like, I think I'm going to stop at a bodega, and Parker was just kind of like, What is a bodega? You weren't familiar with the term, and I described it to you a little bit, and you eventually kind of like put it together. But eventually, it kind of turned into this thing where I was like, Parker, like, why are you against the bodega? And then Parker went into Jerry Seinfeld's voice and was like, "Why are you being anti-bodega?"
why
So,
are you being anti bodega?
so then we were like kind of essentially like writing a Seinfeld episode about like bodegas, And I just thought that was so funny. Why are you're being anti-bodega? Just
Yeah, we
like
were saying that all, and then we came up with like our own Seinfeld episode, and we were
yeah,
just walking around New York just quoting that all night, and that was
yeah,
funny. And the thing is with the bodega, I'm pretty sure we do have those here, but like not like New York, not like Westchester. Probably it's to me they're like corner stores, but that and maybe people from here are like you didn't know what a bodega was, but like yeah, I didn't really hear that term a lot growing up, so
yeah. They're
I think
they're
it was just like to
similar.
me it was like corner
Yeah.
store or like
They're corner stores, but there is like a nuance of
I
difference.
think they're kind of like grocery stores a little bit too, right? Okay,
Yeah,
then that really is like a Northeast thing. I mean, we have that here, but like maybe in the downtown areas. But if you're living like in like a town or something, you're not gonna have that.
yeah,
You're gonna have little grocery stores, but like you're not gonna have like New York style bodegas. So
yeah.
and also it was like where are you gonna go? I think what started the whole anti-bodega thing, I was like, dude, we gotta go get some great breakfast. And you're like, I think I'm gonna just go get a sandwich at the bodega. I was like, the bodega?
Yeah.
And you're all like, what?
But it was definitely you that launched into the Jerry Seinfeld voice, and I was like dying because I was just funny because you were just what like, and you did like the whole like head thing, and yeah, then we basically came up with a episode idea where like George goes to a bodega and is dissatisfied with the service, and then Jerry talks about him being anti-bodega because, like, the show Seinfeld, there was always like some weird term that would be introduced in in an episode like anti-bodega. So I don't know. I thought that was funny. I
It
mean,
was so funny. We were
because
cracking up because I
I feel
remember
like it's something
getting
like
off the. I
I feel
remember
like
Ruth.
when I hang out, we always get into like
We
situations
have a few inside jokes,
and
like
then you end up like doing something that makes me laugh. Like I feel like that's like you just like end up doing some like outlandish performance that makes me like crack up. Like I don't know. I feel like that's
that's
would you
me.
say that's accurate?
That's
Like
me in a nutshell.
yeah,
Yeah,
like,
I'm that guy who like even if it's like the crappiest situation, I will try to make it funny
yeah.
because like even like unless it's really really bad, like we hit somebody, like
Yeah.
yeah, if it's like something where we're lost, I will definitely make a joke
He
about the
hits
loss. We
someone.
did it in Venice, so like
Yeah, I think that might have been the one time I didn't laugh.
I was just like, dude, let's go, let's sleep on the street,
Oh,
and you're
God.
like, we gotta find a place.
I was like, no. But I did want to like let you. I don't know, like I don't know if this is gonna translate well on a podcast, but I was like, do you have any inside jokes that you like think of from your childhood that you like just want to get out there?
Yeah, I'm gonna give one of my best friends a shout out from childhood. My friend Dustin Osborne, Dusty. Hey Dusty. We have several inside jokes, but mostly from like movie quotes that we'll just say to each other randomly. That's kind of our thing. And one thing that we liked saying a lot was one time when I was in college, he was staying with me. We were watching Family Guy, and it was that episode where Peter is deaf and he has to go on the plane and kill the members from what was that show? Oh, I'm blank, but he has to go kill those kids from that TV show,
I
and
don't remember this one.
it kind of like the camera shows all these different people having a good time on the plane, and it shows these little girls like going, "We like being alive, we like being alive, we like being we like being alive," and we just thought that was like the funniest bit because he has to kill everybody on the plane and to kill the whole plane because he's deaf, and so when the girls are
Oh,
sleeping,
he's deaf. I thought you said he's deaf.
no, death.
Oh, it's
Like he's like the Grim Reaper. He's taking his
okay.
place as death. And so like he's having to kill the whole plane. And so you see these little girls go like he's like, "Oh, I feel bad. What am I supposed to do?" And you just see these little girls go, "We like being alive. We like being alive." And we always see every time we see each other, every once in a while we'll say that. What other inside jokes do I have? My friend Jake and Ness will like say all kinds of random jokes to each other. Like when we first started hanging out, we were watching Rick and Morty, and
Yeah.
there's a girl that goes, "You don't know me," and so we always go, "You don't know me." So yeah, we do that, dude. There's all kinds of. Mostly it's like movie quotes and
Okay. Well,
maybe some bits from like stupid stuff that we used to do.
well, see,
Or
that's the one that I'm thinking of. So I when I'm thinking like me and my friends. I had the like my friends in middle school. Um, I think we were probably like in seventh grade. So like you know that time of like period where like you just aged out of your toys, but you still have
Yeah.
them. Like that like weird year where you still have like your children's stuff. Your mom
Yep.
didn't get rid of it yet. Uh so it was like that era. My one friend, it was like me and my two friends. It was one of their birthdays, so we were at his house, and like we picked up like these like fake swords, and we're just being like idiots in the backyard, just like pretending to be from like the Middle Ages. And I think about this like a lot, and it's like sad because like I lost connection with these guys. I still like have some contact with one every once in a while, but the other one I've lost contact with. As it goes, nothing bad. No hostility. Um, but they were both trying to convince me to join their side, and again, we're like tweens, and we're just being stupid. And like one friend's like, join me and I will make you like king. Like, and the other one's like, join me and I will make you the Pope, and like the one goes, join me and I will make you Archpope. And then my one friend just goes, join me and I will make you God. So like I just think about
That
that
sounds
all the
fun.
time. My friend just going, join me and I will make you. And he like does like God, like this, like just like over dramatic, like, like kind of like fantasy medieval movie type line. And
That
yeah,
is pretty funny.
I just think about that like a lot. And I just like I just laugh about that. But like again, like who is that really funny to? Like, like who wasn't there? So yeah, that would be mine.
That's pretty good. I like that. Sounds like a
Yeah,
little clip.
that's what I mean. Like those like little inside jokes that like you really just don't have anyone to share them with anymore. Uh but with that, guys, we're wrapping up our episode here. Glad you guys came back, or if this is your first time, you can follow us, like, subscribe to us on YouTube and Spotify. You can watch us. You might be watching us right now, or you can just listen. It's your choice, you know? And remember to follow us on Instagram at the underscore highly underscore original underscore podcast, where you can see all of my fun memes that I create for you guys and
They're
throw
pretty.
out.
They're pretty good. This most recent one was
Yeah.
probably my favorite.
All right. Real quick, how would you say this one is better than the Hunger Games one, or which one's better?
They're both great. That's hard because I really did enjoy the Hunger Games one. But in terms of like fitting the pictures, I think you did better with this one. But
Yeah, this one's better edited, but
editing, yeah,
I like the concept of the Hunger
the
Games.
Hunger Games one was pretty funny.
Like
Like
the concept of that one is funnier.
you as Elfie was the
Yeah,
funniest thing. I was like, let's show.
yeah. But like I feel like this one's definitely more smoothly put together.
Yeah, I agree. You're killing it, man.
But you listeners, go on our Instagram and decide for yourself and like our
Yeah,
memes.
go like our stuff. Keep listening. Thank you for listening this far in and like tuning in. We have more content coming up, and
Yeah, we'll be coming back next time. We will be coming back with we'll be coming back on May 11th with Midsummer. If you
Midsummer. I
are a
cannot
fan of
wait for this
horror,
premiere.
if you're a fan of horror, you might want to check this one out. All right. With that, take care, guys, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, guys. Thanks for listening.